This is a little known ranger story called The Fight at the Haunted Lake. For 10 days it had been raining, but now as the rangers rode a trail along the swollen Natchez, a full moon hung in the South Texas sky. This was J.K. Fisher's country, better known as King Fisher. The 25-year-old outlaw was a stealer of cattle and horses and a killer of men. Earlier in the year, Captain Leander H. McNelly's Rangers had arrested Fisher and 9 members of his gang in Eagle Pass. But due to the King's reputation and local connections, he was released without prosecution. Fisher was famous for the sign he's supposed to put up at a crossroads near Eagle Pass, not far from his ranch, the Pendencia. This is King Fisher's road, take the other. The Rangers wanted another shot at Fisher, literally, if possible. McNelly was sick in San Antonio, fighting the consumption that would soon kill him. Now it was McNelly's sergeant, John B. Armstrong, who was after the flamboyant Fisher, a good-looking young cowboy gone bad who dressed like a dime novel outlaw. He wore a big Mexican sombrero, a buckskin jacket embroidered with gold, a red sash, pearl-handled, silver-plated 6-shooters, and tiger-skin chaps on his legs. Despite his regal get-up, Armstrong figured the king needed deposing. Near Carrizo Springs, the Rangers captured a known horse thief named Noli Key, a suspected member of Fisher's gang. Key told Armstrong that Fisher and his men had left the area, but with 25 men, Armstrong surrounded the house where Fisher and his gang had been staying. They found that the outlaw had been telling the truth. Fisher and his men were gone, having left their women and children behind. The ranger sergeant took Key some distance out in the brush and had a private conversation with him. When the sergeant came back, he told his men that some of Fisher's associates were camped at Lake Espantosa, only 6 or 7 miles away. With Key as their guide, the Rangers rode as quickly as they could towards the lake. Despite whatever pervasive techniques Armstrong had used on the prisoner, Key talked pleasantly with one of the Rangers, who even gave him some tobacco. Lake Espantosa was a small, natural water hole on the old road from Mexico to San Antonio, a route used since the time Texas was a Spanish colonial province. How much border Spanish the Rangers knew is not recorded, so whether these men understood what Espantosa meant is open to speculation. Judging from the later misspelling of the name in his report, Armstrong probably did not. The lake was in the as yet unorganized Dimmitt County. Savvy travelers and the few residents of Carrizo Springs, 5 miles from the lake, knew an eerie fog sometimes formed over its waters after dark. Tales floated around of waylaid travelers, alligator tracks, ghostly apparitions, and buried treasure dating back to the time of the Spanish entradas. The word espantosa was Spanish for fearful or horrid. The Rangers working their way towards this lake may or may not have heard Lake Espantosa's stories, but they were about to add to its legend. What was about to happen there on this moonlit night fit the name perfectly. After about an hour, near midnight, on the last day of September in 1876, the riders turned off the trail into an oak motte and dismounted. Armstrong ordered Rangers T.N. Devine and Thomas J. Evans to stay with the horses and guard their guide. In a low voice, Armstrong addressed the remaining 4 Rangers, George Boyd, L.P. Durham, N.A. Jennings, and A.L. Parrott. Boys, we are going to capture those thieves or kill them. The ranger sergeant explained his reasoning for approaching the horse thieves with so few men. The outlaws were more likely to stand and fight, which was exactly what Armstrong wanted. If they only fire on us, we can rush in on them and kill them all. Nothing but that will break up this gang. Creeping through the brush, their carbines at the ready, the Rangers emerged into a clearing near the lake. A campfire flickered in the distance. Slowly, they eased closer to camp. The Rangers got within 75 feet of the camp before one of the rustlers finally noticed the lawmen advancing in the shadows. "Here they come, boys! Here they come!" The outlaw, giving the alarm, snapped off a round in the general direction of the Rangers as his colleagues jumped to their feet and grabbed their guns. "Damn you!" Armstrong shouted. "You'll shoot at an officer, will you?" Muzzle blasts lit up the night like giant fireflies gone berserk. Inside 4 minutes, at least 200 rounds were fired. As Ranger Jennings approached the outlaw camp, one of the brigands emptied his six-shooter at the lawman, slinging a barrage of curses in his direction for good measure. A bullet from the Ranger's rifle took off part of the outlaw's jaw, and he collapsed. Thinking the outlaw was dead, Jennings looked for another target, but of the 4 outlaws the Rangers had jumped, 3 were lying on the ground. The 4th was locked in a knife fight with Boyd, which the Ranger soon won. Jennings was bending over to look at the man he had killed when he saw his eyes move. "For God's sake, gentlemen, don't kill me," the man moaned, pleading the same thing a second time. "No one wants to kill you," Jennings said. "We are not murderers. Would you like some water?" The Ranger picked up a tin cup near the campfire and went to the lake to fill it. Returning with the water, Jennings gently lifted the man's head and placed the cup against the man's smashed and bloody mouth. Besides the trauma to his face, the outlaw had been hit in the leg and maybe elsewhere. Jennings thought the man was going to die, but he recovered, a bit of good fortune for the outlaw that the Ranger would later come to regret. Armstrong's official report on the fight, which Jennings said he helped write, is not as action-packed as Jennings' account, which he published in a book more than 20 years after the one-sided gun battle. The sergeant, in a communication to Captain McNelly, reported that the confrontation occurred about midnight and that his men were within 20 yards of the outlaw camp when fired on by 2 outlaws, not one, as Jennings later wrote. "We responded promptly to the gunfire and a lively little fight ensued, resulting in the death of 3 of them and the wounding of another in 5 places. We subsequently learned from the wounded man that there were but 4 of them in camp, the balance having left. They had received information of our coming and had left." Armstrong did not name the outlaws in his report, but Jennings later listed their names as John Martin, alias One-Eyed John, Jim Roberts, and George Mullen. The wounded man Jennings referred to only as McAllister. The Rangers recovered about 50 stolen horses and the weapons the thieves had carried. Armstrong's report concluded with a casual reference to the prisoner who had guided the officers to the outlaw camp. "We were informed by the guard, Rangers Devine and Evans, that while we were fighting, the horses became excited, calling their attention from the prisoner, who took this opportunity to attempt to escape, was ordered to halt 3 times, but kept running, and was fired upon and killed. Returning to the clump of trees after the fight, the Rangers found Key lying on his stomach, a bullet hole in his back." Jennings later wrote that he felt badly about Key, but the Ranger managed to keep the man's death in perspective, at least the perspective of the Natchez River country in the 1870s. He was not an important loss to the community, however, for he was a well-known horse thief. Kingfisher, though he missed the Lake Espantosa fight, had only 5 years to live. Fisher was shot to death on March 11, 1884, at the Variety Theater in San Antonio, along with Austin City Marshal Ben Thompson. 6 years later, when Jennings was in San Antonio for the first time in years to do research for the book he planned on his Ranger experiences, McAllister, the horse thief who survived the Lake Espantosa fight, got wind of it. "I've been camping on his trail for 16 years, he told somebody in Alamo City Bar, "and now I'm going to go kill him for shooting my jaw off that night." Jennings picked up on the threat, and though he no longer had a commission to carry one legally, he bought a six-shooter. "Then I went on a hunt for McAllister," he wrote. "I thought I would know him with his disfigured face a good deal quicker than he would know me." But the two men never met. McAllister apparently heard that Jennings was aware of his threat and was looking for him to discuss the matter. A survivor of one gunfight with Rangers, McAllister opted not to try for 2 out of 2 and disappeared. This is a little known story of the Texas Rangers. If you like these type stories, comment, let me know. I will come up with some more little known stories. Also, please subscribe, like, and hit that little old notice button. And we put content on every Tuesday about 2 o'clock. Thanks.